Hi, everyone. Welcome to VCTV, the Venture Capital TV from LATOKEN. Another day, another topic, and set of speakers that I already know. Thank you so much for joining me, Jose and Telly, back on the show from yesterday. So today we're going to discuss on VCTV about a topic which I haven't discussed before with my audience and my speakers and my investors. It's about market segmentation, cookie management, user authentication, customer profile recognition, all in the perspective of the blockchain technology. This is going to be very technical and very interesting for some viewers, but we're going to talk about investments. We're going to keep it very high level. We're going to talk about investments. We're going to talk about the trends. We're going to talk about some of the sort of insights and use cases. So before I start the session, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Sunny Mohanty. I'm the Regional Director of LATOKEN. I'm based here in Singapore. I've been hosting VCTV since March 2020. I host a show every day at 8 p.m. Singapore. So we have more shows in Asia as well. My colleague, my colleague Terence does that on different timings on the days. So we are bringing in more and more sort of topics into VCTV to give the viewers and audience and the founders more sort of variety, because we've been getting contacted by startups and founders to focus on this particular area or this subject. That's why we have sort of diversified the topics that we choose to discuss with our investors. So today I have my most two favorite speakers on the panel. Jose, hi, from Biz Money, and Telly. Hi, Telly, from the beautiful place on the earth. I can imagine, I can't stop my vacation plans once everything's opens up, hopefully does. So welcome back, guys. Welcome to the episode of VCTV. So please, I'd like to start with Jose first with a short introduction, then I move to Telly. Thank you.
Thank you, Sonny. So happy to be on your show again, and really excited about the topic we have today. So my name is Jose Brasa. I'm a serial entrepreneur now for quite a long time, more or less like 40 years. And I've been a business angel for more or less 26 and a VC for 3. I always say this because it's really true. I love much more being an entrepreneur than being an investor. And the reason is because it gives you much more excitement to build something than to get into something which is already running. But sometimes it happens also that you get something very, very cool in your hands, and you want to take part of that venture. I'm essentially working and looking on the outlook for everything which is related to business inclusion, artificial intelligence, machine learning, neural networks, blockchain in technology. That's the focus, and what we try to accomplish is build up the technology to enable a social market economy. Thank you, Sonny.
Thank you, Jose, and welcome to VCTV again. I'm going to hear a lot from you today. Next, I have Telly. Hi, Telly. How are you today?
Hi, I'm good. Thank you for having me on the show as usual. So my name's Telly Onu. As she said, I live in St. Kitts and Nevis, that everyone wants to visit. The lovely peak right here in Nevis. So quickly about me, so many things. I'm a digital economist, focused many years in digital transformation, specifically focused in digital financial market infrastructure, architecture, design, and implementation, co-founder of a fintech incubator in the US. And over the years, we have been in-kind investing in a number of the portfolio companies that we have, one of which has kind of reached its graduation stage. It's called Alt School. It's the first tech school for alternative and digital finance for professionals. We've partnered with the likes of Middlesex University and Informa. and we're offering the first set of postgraduate programs in digital financial market infrastructure management, and DFMI for short, and
Yeah.
DFMI climate finance management, since I think
Right.
the US and everybody is talking about greening. We need
Yeah.
to green. Everything first needs to be sustainable and green. So yeah, that focus on infrastructure and how digital, be it CFI or DeFi, together come together in an infrastructure connected layer to support new models, new things, and new governance. So that's some of the stuff I do. On the from an investment lens, from our experience with our incubator and working with a number of startups, I have also managed a number of acceleration programs as well, and I'm a mentor to a number of companies. So we give insights in terms of helping them create their MVPs and helping them kind of grow and acquire customers.
Right.
Um, so yeah, still early stage. Our focus is early stage, but kind of starting to pivot into latter stage companies as well.
Right.
And that's a little about me. You get to know me later as
Yeah,
the
sure.
program progresses.
Thank you, Telly. Thanks for that introduction. So we have a full 50 minutes to 1 hour show today. I'm going to split it into two different parts. One would be more like focused on education, like, there would be some audience who wouldn't know what exactly a market segmentation is, what exactly the customer profile recognition means. They might be in the blockchain space looking for funding, but probably they are not sure what exactly where they fit into these categories, right? So first 30 minutes, 20 minutes, we focus on that, going over trends. The next 20, 25 minutes, we heavily focus on investments. So yeah, there we go. So I would like to start with Jose. Blockchain technology, market size, with respect to market segmentation, a market size, share, and trends. If you could share if you can open the panel with those insights. Thank you.
So, first of all, I think we need to understand what blockchain is. And blockchain, in essence, is a system that you can record. Doesn't need to be permanent, but the plan is that you use blockchain because you don't want to do reverse engineering. So that means that one record is fixed and you cannot change it anymore. That's why initially they came up with blockchain. I see blockchain personally as a very handy solution, essentially for permanent recording. So in a database, you have this issue that you can always replace or overwrite, something that you want to store. And in the blockchain, that you put it integrated with previous records. You give it some tokens. You can generate that, and that makes it unique. And blockchain really, in essence, is perfect for record storing. What I mean is that permanent record storing, like a notary. Right?
Right.
And that can be applied to many, many areas. You can look at it like just notary for documents. You can look at it like contracts, right? Everybody knows about the contracts that are done today with blockchain. You can even do it for transactions like permanent record. But you could also apply it for as an example to certification, right? So once something is certified, it could be a company, it could be an individual, doesn't matter. He gets into this blockchain, and that is permanent. Now, obviously, you can always make addendums. Okay, so if you go to as an example, let's look at old stuff, old technology, because that's easy for a lot of people to understand. So if you go to a notary or if you go to a registry office, then what they do is they don't change the old data. They make addendums to the new data.
Right.
Basically, they take, right? Okay. Because that's certified that it's authentic. And so in blockchain, more or less, you have the same issue. So what they do is then they will not change the previous recording. What they do is they make an addendum. And from that date on forward, that addendum, is fixed as the last and the real record. So going back to categorization, humans have the trend to categorize a lot of things, and you can look at it like classes, even among humans or among products, right? You have a lot of those options. You can look at it like putting products into certain niches to be able to manage it easier. You can put companies into certain sectors, right, etc., etc. So there's so many alternatives for categorization, right? Um, and the reason why we have done this, I think that this is where the shift will come in the future, is that our brains or our mindsets still have not evolved to the next generation. We still are facing the limits of our brain. Okay, although our brain is a huge, fantastic machine, right? But it has some limits. And we are facing some limits of the brain that we have. Either the brain is going to get more developed, or we just need to accept that we need machines to enhance our extension of our brain processing. Now, the reason why we categorize is because we cannot memorize, okay, all and everything which is in a category. So what humans do is they tend to categorize everything into certain niches for them to easy to pick it out. It's like look at like a book, right? If you go to a book, you have chapter one, and then you have a subchapter, etc., and eventually you get to the data, right? Now, with AI and machine learning and neural network, this can still be the case, especially with quantum computing. But you don't need to categorize that much anymore. It's more about searching among the data, specific things. Right? And what I will want to say is that what I see that the future will go to is that we will have non-categorization, because we don't need it anymore in the future. In 10, 20 years, probably we will not need it. What we have is, okay, just searching for a certain areas. Now, it's obvious that you cannot eliminate categorization in the whole range, but certainly for a lot of things, it's not a must in the future.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely agree. I mean, for those who are new to this topic or think very technical, I think Jose started with definition of blockchain technology. How simple can it get from there? Thank you, Jose, for sharing that insights with our viewers. Next, I have Telly. Telly, please, your opening remarks for the session. Thank you.
So just thinking about what Jose said in terms of categorization, and also he mentioned more than one technology, from blockchain to AI networks to neural networks and using machine learning and so on. Obviously, you need much more than one set of technologies to really optimize the whole issue of market segmentation. So if I now move into how market segmentation can be better applied, first of all, let's look at it from a business standpoint. So we are in that era where it's really about customers and customer experiences. But no longer do you have to segment your market according to the traditional demographics. You know, these are static. It's really about knowing the customer, and capturing the data sets on knowing your customer involves a lot more than just, okay, she's female, you know, she's 8 feet tall, 6 feet tall. Those are just basic characteristics. Yes, you need to know that. It's a good idea. But you have to get into the emotive element, because from a business standpoint, if you think about what are the motivations that drive a client, a customer to buy things, it's really psychology. It's really their emotions. And that's why they have methodologies out there that focus on customer empathy, understanding what makes them tick, think, feel, act, do, and what the motivations are. These intricacies are not something, and insights are not something you can just normally just look at a person and write down. And I mean, you're trying to target a large population. So this is where I think the beauty of using AI comes in, because you can now um, pinpoint and grab these data sets from people's behavior. So you're already starting to see, in that space of market segmentation happening online. I mean, the quick thing I do if I'm looking for a particular topic or a particular area, let's just say venture capital, I'm looking for a particular product. I just say it 4 times, go on Facebook or go search, and boom, I'm targeted. So again, it's obvious that all our devices are listening, right? And they're using these type of technologies to pick up our behaviors, pick up our cues, pick up our language sets. Maybe not yet, well, facial recognition, your body language as well. And they pick up certain types of behaviors that make you, right? And they map out these data sets and kind of create, then you have the machine learning kind of learn how these behaviors are. And then when you get to the neural network stage, it's more or less understanding, and it's the intelligent aspect of it where it starts to actually act on its own. It has learned this group, this category likes to do these things, so these are the next actions, and it's more automated. So I would say technologies, if you are designing technologies that focus on market segmentation, really you have to definitely try and combine a number of these. It's being able to easily capture the data first and foremost. So as Jose had said, blockchain technology definitely allows us to have that proof, that single source of truth of that record. It exists, and especially if it's for permanent records. If it's not for permanent records, it doesn't really make any sense, right? But then if it's not for permanent records, you have to actually design it in such a way that it's seamless and easy to capture, because the big challenges all these legacy firms are having is they collect data. They collect a lot of data, but they can't parse this data. It's just not put in particular format. So there's a big opportunity to simplify that whole digitization process on the one hand, and to come up with different solutions that can actually capture data.
Right.
So obviously those people working in the space of AI, they're able to capture very unique features like emotions and stuff and behaviors. Obviously you do well. Just bear in mind, you have to also address the issue of privacy. You need to get permission and all of that with it. Um, so that, yeah, that's pretty much where I see from the perspective of market segmentation. You do have to get right down to the motives and the motivations and the pain points. So at some point it's going to be easier. I can see a space where it's really easy after you have like trained, designed all these data sets to kind of learn and pick up these things, to pretty much pinpoint what the problems are, what the serious big issues are for you to design for that. Because once you've hit that, then you've really solved your problem with your startup. Um, so that's my perspective on market segmentation. I do have to say with Jose, blockchain is really, really important for a number of things. And if you're going into, for example, my story, I was born in Ethiopia at a time when, well, my parents were diplomats. So at a time when they didn't have a national registry
Right.
for birth records. This is something, governments have. Yes, they have a registry in the hospital, but it's not like the official country registry. So I always moved around with the declaration of age by my parents, right? Because there isn't that single source of truth that really says, apart from my parents' words, that says, I belong to them. I was born on a particular date and I was born here. And maybe a little evidence of the hospital and check the hospital records. But guess what? Hospital records are like so old, they could have been burnt, could have faded. So identity And using blockchain for verification is really a useful technology because there are other, I mean, by now, I'm sure many countries have these systems in place. But what about people who live in the rural areas that might be disadvantaged and don't have access or don't even know? There are a lot of people who go around that don't really have a verifiable identity, and it actually locks them out of society and societal benefits. So, yeah, blockchain can definitely solves those type of problems in terms of having that secure record there. You know,
Yeah.
he
Thank you,
exists.
Ted.
He
Yeah.
actually exists.
Thank you, Telly, for sharing that little story about your, sort of birth certificate incident. I mean, we were just discussing before we went live with Jose as well, and his story also shocked me, like threw me out of this my seat about the Colombia incident. Would you like to share, Jose, or shall we move?
Better not.
Sure. Okay, cool. We can laugh about it offline, maybe. But it's a very good use case of blockchain technology. Absolutely agree with Telly's insights. Next, we have cookies management. So, what is really cookies, and how does blockchain come into play? Jose, I'd like to start with you.
I think the cookies is a very separate area, but it can be part of a blockchain concept, right? So cookies basically they are in place to gather data from what you are doing. Essentially, it comes from your from your hardware. So like geolocation, what do you have, maybe even type of context, etc., etc. You know, there's almost no limit today in what amount of data they can access without your really knowledge. Because when you accept a cookie, right, you really don't know. It's like I always give this example. When you go to a bank, right, and you go for a loan, and you get this, I don't know how many pages of contract, right? Nobody reads the contract. You just sign because you want the loan, right? So it's a little bit crazy stuff. You don't even know if you are signing your testament, you know. So, but a cookie is more or less the same. You know, if you go to an application and today they need to give you access, and they will say generic wise what they collect, but in essence you don't really know what they collect. So you accept, right, or you refuse. Normally I just refuse because you don't know exactly what type of data they are tracing from you. Now that's one part of the issue. The part is that um, while you are let's say interacting with your device, a lot of data is generated as well, and that data can be collected as well, real-time data with a cookie. Okay. And that makes it so interesting. So cookie is not about only static data that is on your device. It's also about constant data that you are producing and that they want to collect. Now, maybe the good question would be is why do they collect it, right?
Right. Yeah.
Okay. So I think the marketeers are the problem in essence. So let me put it like this. Everybody which has a product, okay, either software or wants to sell you something, right? So he wants to adjust that offer as much as possible to you. He wants to understand how you think so that he can, you know, also learn from you and maybe adjust that product in the future to a certain point. Now, marketers target masses, okay? And we are all unique. There is no second person equal to you, right? Everybody is unique. But there is something that marketers can do, and I've been building brands now for a long, long amount of years, okay, and I know that very well, is that we look for something called in statistics the standard deviation. Now, standard deviation means that where do the masses converge together, more or less, for you to be able to produce something that will be appreciated by the volume. And you accept that the borders, okay, it can be even 10%, right? They just fall out. You know, you cannot fulfill everybody's wishes. It's not possible. So you accept that, you know, you will lose like 20, 10%, maybe even 30, as long as you're able to have a product which targets the majority. Okay. And that's how it's done, more or less. Now, these cookies, right? They are essential, okay, to your
Yeah.
getting of this data, to be able to do that and improve constantly, right?
Right.
Your product. I would just like to go back for 1 second to the previous conversation we had. You know, the world always thinks that we always come up with new things, right? But the issue is that in a lot of cases, we don't come up with new things. We come with enhancements. Okay, now look at blockchain itself. If you think blockchain is something unique, right? A lot of people think it is, but I can tell you it's not. And the best blockchain ever made on earth, okay, was made by a priest, okay, and it's called the accounting system, okay? And,
Right.
and the accounting system says that one record, okay,
Yeah.
cannot be erased. So that record is permanent, okay? So if you look at accounting, and you look at the essence of accounting, in essence, is the perfect blockchain. The only difference is that the previous records are not, let's say, interacted with it, right? So you still can go back, erase it handwise, if you do,
Yeah.
if you and put a new something in. But officially, accounting says no way. If you're an accountant, you know that you cannot erase anything. You can make corrections, and that's an add-on, right? Now, blockchain basically takes that principle. In my opinion, personal opinion, you can use blockchain for 1,001 things, but blockchain in essence, and I think that a lot of people still have not understood this, is that blockchain is the perfect accounting system,
Yeah. Of course it is.
right?
Yeah.
That's okay. And I would leave it like that. And I would like to know what Telly thinks about it.
Yeah, sure. I mean, great insights, Jose, with in obviously clearing what's the definition of cookies and cookies management and how blockchain fits in. Very nicely explained. I'd like to hear from Telly as well, her insights about
Yeah,
this.
so with cookies and cookies management, um, as as Jose said, they collect data. It's an application that collects data. You don't really know what they're collecting, static or real time or otherwise. Um, I see it two ways, where if they're leveraging blockchain for that, it could actually bring in some transparency,
Mhm.
because then they would have to kind of pinpoint exactly what data is being passed. And if the data within the cookies is actually recorded on
Right.
the ledger, then that will bring about the type of transparency. On the flip side, again, the ledger is a permanent record.
Yeah.
So it's either going to be used as an attestation that this event has happened.
Mhm.
But what about in the context of privacy? And let's say we're using GDPR as an example. When I want all my data erased, including what's on the ledger, then I got a problem. Well, I mean, I got a problem. So it's all about design. It's either you are, because I've seen some bad designs where they put everything on the blockchain, on the ledger, without looking at an attestation of the record to say, we collected X amount of data from such and such person at this time, and it contained this and that information. Um, if that is attested and put as a log on the blockchain, that makes sense. But
Mhm.
I've seen some really bad implementations where they say, okay, I took her house number. Okay, I took her passport number. That's just wrong. So I see it in two ways. I think if cookies is managed from that attestation perspective, I think it works really well for cookies. And it also helps and complementary, if it's complemented with another solution that allows the client
Yeah.
to delete the data. So there you have maybe a cookies wallet, you know, a
Mhm.
special wallet that has like a decentralized cookie wallet where your cookies go in. Because for me personally, what I do with my cookies in my browser every week, I go into the cookies and I delete them. I delete a whole bunch of them. I just keep doing that. I have software that also cleans it up. Not many people would have that capability or ability. So using blockchain does also require a lot of self-discipline. and understanding on what you're doing for it. So, but it is useful for that level of transparency.
Absolutely.
Definitely. Uh, Go ahead. You were going to say something?
Are you done, Telly, or?
Pretty much on the cookies management, I was
Okay.
done. Yeah, I mean,
Okay, cool.
you can't fake the data
Yeah.
once you have it there.
Yeah.
So that's where I see it.
Yeah, thank you so much. I mean, so far you've explained so nicely the technical details behind these. Some people might find it a little jargony, like, really tough to understand, but you've just explained it so nicely for anyone who can understand this. So we are done with some sort of background information perspective about the topic itself, which is good for the viewers and audience who are new to this session and episode of VCTV. The next 20 minutes, I'd like to focus on investments that consist of startups as well. What kind of startups, Jose, I'd like to start with you. Firstly, what kind of startups fall into each of these categories? And what were the recent investments that were made in the space? And if you yourself made any investments or you've seen any investments made in these categories of startups, could you please share your insights?
Yes. Maybe I start with something which is not really on this topic, but I think it's really important for the
Right.
entrepreneurs to understand. So, in general, investors are pretty open, to accept pitches
Mhm.
and look into their investment criteria.
Right.
The problem is that it's so overwhelming, the amount of offers, that human-wise, it's very hard to get through, right? So I would recommend that first the entrepreneurs really make a good selection of understanding the investor and his investment criteria, because at the end it's like you're burning your time and his time. And if you approach an investor which is not interested, even if your project is super good, it's generating a huge amount of revenues, whatever it is, right? But if he doesn't have the right mindset, that investor, for investing into your venture, then doesn't make sense for you to approach him and lose your time and his time. So I think the biggest problem is that a lot of entrepreneurs look at it like, okay, this is a numbers game, let's go to everybody, right? And this is the biggest mistake you can make, and also the biggest problem. First is that if you do that, then you are more or less called something that we call like shopping, right? And shopping means that you go to everybody, and these investors, most of them, they know each other, and in no time, they said, okay, there's nothing unique about this anymore. Everybody. So if nobody wants to invest into this, why should I, right? So basically, you are burning your options for yourself. That's one thing. And the other point is that you need to get well prepared. Now, well prepared means that you need to have a good professional set of ducks, and you need to have that perfect pitch lined out, train it and look at it and try have some opinions from other people, right? Because I would say the first 60 seconds are crucial. It's like a love game. Okay, so if the first 60 seconds you look at somebody and you say it, I want to marry with this woman for life, right? So that's how it works, and investing is, in the first approach. And after that approach, then you go to the ingredients. Okay, so let's check what's behind this, right? Is it really so good, right? And it moves on. So the process itself is not easy. You may even face that you need to approach like 1,000 investors. It's not uncommon, right? Until you hit the right one. And you just need to keep on going and improve yourself. And also very important is that you don't go to everybody, is because if you go to just one or two, right, you can adjust your speech and see what's went wrong and what went well, and then you can improve it constantly. Eventually, you get to I would say, a ideal set of documents and a matured concept. Now, it takes time. Okay, it can take like 3 to 6 months, so it's not abnormal. And fundraising, believe me, fundraising costs money. If you think that fundraising is free of charge, forget it. Everything costs money. You're traveling, well, you don't travel today, but everything like those lists, right? The documents that you need to prepare, you have to make by professionals, and you need to have them in a certain standard set. So, maybe we could have a session about this because I think this is so important
Yeah.
for entrepreneurs, right? Okay, what I'm looking for is the following things that fit into my investment criteria. Okay, I cannot be more explicit than this. Projects that they don't need to be revenue generating, but they need to have a proof of concept or a prototype,
Right.
right?
Okay.
That fit into one of these categories that I love, which is business inclusion, social market economy, artificial intelligence related to this, machine learning related to this, neural networks related to this, DeFi. Okay, so
Right.
right, and also SEFI, all embedded, right? Blockchain and digital currencies. Now, when I talk about digital currencies, I'm on the lookout for a new type of digital currency. Okay, so I'm not looking out for those. That we have thousands of cryptocurrencies today, right?
Yeah.
I'm on the lookout for the next generation digital currency.
Wow. Right. Great. I mean, one point, Jose, I have to 100% agree is fundraising doesn't mean that you need no money, because you need a lot of money to initially get to that stage, right? I mean, I've seen examples of founders who've come to us, or me personally, saying, I don't have a penny to spend, but I want to fundraise. So I think, yeah, that's, I agree. Telly is just, yeah, I know.
Maybe I
I mean,
can say
that's,
something about that. You know, what BizMoney exactly does, it tackles that problem that you so very good mentioned, is that a lot of founders don't have the cash and a lot of founders don't have the knowledge. So basically, they don't get into an investment criteria. And because they don't get into the investment criteria, right, they fall out. Okay, and there is no alternatives for them in essence. So either they get the cash and they start learning, right, or they start bootstrapping, right? So what we do at BizMoney, that's why we build it, is that we are an offer exactly for those who are
right.
underserved
Mhm.
and don't have the cash and don't have the knowledge.
Right. So founders and startups and entrepreneurs who are listening us today and do not have the cash for the initial seed funding or, rounds, Jose, has money as well as he's a lot of advice. I mean, he speaks on almost all the panels we have on VCTV, and very, very informative as well. A lot of insights. Thank you, Jose. Telly, I would
Yeah.
like to ask you the question a little differently, because so you just want to know what kind of recent investments that you personally have made in the space, if any, or you can share the recent investments that were done in the space in 2020, who encapsulates these market segments uh, with blockchain technology in it.
Well, within our portfolio, we're working on a particular one that focuses on, it combines identity with a lot of the aspects of notarization, which is something that we saw was a big gap, um, especially since everyone has gone remote, right, for businesses. So that's one area. It does incorporate RegTech heavily, but it also facilitates onboarding, uh, remote onboarding as well. So that's internal. It's still stealth mode, so I can't really speak too much about it. Wearing my other cap, I'm also the head of governance and execution of the Bantu Blockchain Foundation. So this is a very new blockchain protocol. It's an infrastructure that's been built. And one of the unique things I pretty much like about it is designed for DeFi. It does incorporate aspects to support a regulated framework. So things like embedding the whole KYC and identity is baked as part of its infrastructure. And that information is, and it's also simplified because it also connects with your, your normal email and password, but that data is obviously logged on the ledger. So that, brings some transparency. So when we are now looking at onboarding institutions, just like financial institutions. We're on mainnet, but we haven't launched officially live. We go live, big launch in December, but we've already onboarded a number of institutions because those are the type of features they're looking at. So while it is a decentralized ledger technology, it was designed for facilitating DeFi and especially bringing enterprises into the space. So that's a big task and investment there. In the other ecosystem and landscape, things that excite me would be like Chainalysis. I think Chainalysis probably closed I think it was 100 million last week. Chainalysis is really interesting because
Yes.
they really focused in the crypto space for digital assets, starting with Bitcoin. Obviously, they've now onboarded quite a number of different solutions, and they're focusing on fraud prevention and also compliance solutions all around the identity. They're doing a lot with tracking the coins. So even though you have a chain like Bitcoin that offers that pseudonymous, identity,
Yeah.
they can still track, and now that you have countries putting in regulations or enforcing regulations on centralized exchanges to implement
Correct.
KYC, it's a catch-all. They can they can go to you and say, okay, we tracked it here. You've got the KYC. Please tell me who owns that wallet. So
Correct.
yeah, in terms of, because there are, on the one hand, you have some advocates say this is like an invasion of privacy and we want freedom. Unfortunately, they're bad actors, and the bad actors destroy the industry and the reputation. We've been
Yeah.
through, the ICO bubble.
Absolutely.
80% of ICOs were scams, you know, and the very few that were not still stained from that whole thing. So I'm hoping DeFi doesn't really go that route. I mean, there might be a few, as with any
Yeah.
innovation, but the reality is we are in a space where you do have bad actors. Um, Another interesting one for me is Behavox. This is a company that focuses on employee surveillance and
Mm.
compliance because that for
Right.
me connects very closely to cybersecurity. So they raised a whopping 127 million. So that space, that area, employee surveillance in a nice manner,
Mhm.
if you can make it very friendly and streamlined and not too invasive, but get the data of what leaves or comes into a company's entity, especially now, a lot of companies who have gone remote are not coming back. So how do you manage remote workers? So this is a big opportunity if you're thinking of, where can you're probably in the space where you want to pivot and do something new. I would say, how do you manage those remote workers? Not trying to be too invasive, but get enough data and insights, perhaps using AI to capture that for you for decision making. Yeah, those would be the top ones. And of course, the normal one in payments, I think Bolt just got like 140 million for payment fraud and chargeback. I have a different view in terms of how they need to model. you
Right.
know, they're still very centralized. I think if they were to move to a more decentralized perspective, then they wouldn't necessarily be dealing with payment fraud in the way they're doing, you know,
Yeah.
and linking it with better user authentication as well.
Right. So Telly, I think you've covered a lot of insights in terms of investments that were done in year 2020, which is a good sign, because uh, the pandemic has obviously slowed down many things and brought all us grounded in a way because we are not able to travel. But a lot of good things like investments getting done in the space, which is always good to hear from, because we have founders and startups who are looking to raise money even this year, and they have raised money as well this year. So great insights from you both. I just wanted to ask, yes, take some closing remarks on this topic from each of you. If you could just share 5 minutes closing remarks, and then we are good to go. Jose, over to you.
Yes. This time I would like to take those 5 minutes basically to make an interesting announcement is that I've been writing quite a lot of books over the last few years, and they finally are getting out. And the book is called Cookie Business. And the idea is that you start understanding how to select the right ingredients to build up any type of business that you would like to do and how you grow it further. Now, there is a lot of let's say lack of knowledge on the market because the problem is like this: it takes a huge amount of years, right, for you to understand how everything works, and there are so many areas that you are not able to learn even. And where we want to basically get you is what we say is we want you to start making decisions like Fortune 500 CEOs, right? There is no reason anymore in 2020 for you to think differently. So technology in about 1 or 2 years will enable you to make decisions like Fortune 500 CEOs without having all that stuff, all that team around you, because the machines will be the extension of that team. And I would like to leave this today because we touched a lot of investments, and I think this is a very nice one. As for the topic that we had today, I want to reinforce that we are definitely on the lookout for a new type of digital currency, a new type of e-commerce, okay, more like interactive. And that can be interacted with the whole setup that we have. And also would like to strongly to invite all those that have good brains, good ideas, talent, but have no conditions today to build up that business to just approach us. And, we are happy to look into it. So you can find me on, maybe I can finish right away. So you can find me on
Sure.
LinkedIn, on the Jose Grasa, or just look up for BizMoney. But definitely you can also find me here on VCTV. They have a special button for that, so go ahead. And always happy to advise any startup that would be interested in my knowledge.
Fantastic. So that's the whole point, Jose. I mean, closing remarks with the message out there to the startups who are looking to raise funds and probably do not have much cash for the initial down deposit. I mean, they can always reach out to Jose as he openly, invited you. I can say that. Thank you, Jose, for the closing remarks, and all the best for the digital currency launch. Next, Telly, your closing remarks, please.
Jose, looks like I'll be coming to you with my blockchain team on a separate thing. Anyway, yeah. So my closing remarks similar. I get what Jose is saying. Information and knowledge is scarce. We have, accelerated the amount of information, and sometimes it does take a number of years to acquire the depth of knowledge for you to properly design, architect your startup, and also to execute. Even for the investors, as Jose said, you have to go to investors who pretty much know the industry. But now we're really going into an era where there are newer things coming on, and investors themselves also need to acquire more knowledge. So we have, we are already enrolling for our first cohort. It starts in January and February of next year, but enrollment has started. We decided to shift the dates from December to early next year to allow for more people because we're getting requests. To understand how a holistic digital financial market infrastructure can support the rollout of embedded finance holistically. So covering all across the value chain, covering all the different technologies we mentioned and more, covering RegTech, InsurTech, WealthTech, you name all the techs. It's a connected infrastructure that really would drive the next set of companies. So they say the future is embedded, the future is connected. It is, because for you to unlock value, and now I'm coming to your valuation, it's already evident once you incorporate transactions or anything transactional, value transfers, or a model that incorporates value transfers into your existing business model, you can unlock your valuations and increase them significantly. But you need to understand the landscape, understand the underlying technologies as well, and understand how they can come together. Another huge opportunity is in the application of digital to climate action. It's a huge area. For many, it's a great area. I know in Asia, the governments are starting to talk about it, but guess what? Missing link is the data, missing link is the technology, and missing link is the data, that the technology that could drive investments into the space. Moolah, transactions, value. And so it is, there are two big areas, and we have two great courses. And also we have partnered with a great global finance management international board that has also provided accreditation for a new designation called the Chartered Digital Financial Market Infrastructure Professional for persons who do the two postgraduate certificates. So we are trying to professionalize the sector. Me being in the space for a while, it's a lot of talk. People go off other people's, tidbits, but there are only probably 10 to 20% of people that truly understand the technologies, how it works, and implementation. So with that, you can find it at Alt School. That is ALTSCHOOL.co, altschool.co. And you can find me on LinkedIn. You can find me on LATOKEN. You can find me on also on Twitter as Taval. I think on LinkedIn I'm TV owner, but you type in my name, you should pick it up.
Yeah, sure. Maybe I can help connect as well. Thank you, Telly. Thank you, Telly, and thank you, Joseph, for those insights and amazing topic today. Something very new for me as well as an individual, and I've learned a lot from both of you today. So startups and founders in the space who are generally looking for help in terms of scaling up with minimum cash, you can always reach out to Jose, as he rightly said, and he's getting featured on our website on www.latoken.com/profiles. Please reach out to me. I can help you connect with Jose straight away. And similarly, Telly obviously is looking for great startups, great founders in the space, and very much into blockchain technology as well. So if you're looking to reach out to Telly, please do so directly, but she's busy. So you can reach out to me and I can help you filter out a few questions before I can connect with her directly. So that being said, we come to the end of the show. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for being here for 1 hour. You can also watch on YouTube our shows, and the links are underneath. You can click on them and you can go straight and meet these people on our website. So there are different ways you can actually reach out to both Telly and Jose. So stay tuned for more. I'm back tomorrow with another topic and another set of speakers. Till then, goodbye, stay healthy, stay safe, stay connected, and see you.